Welcome, welcome, welcome to Miss Debbie Says. I am Miss Debbie. I created this show to share my knowledge and experiences. This show is about relationships because when I know for sure there's nothing more important than relationship. Today's show is a conversation with a special guest about his relationship with his self and the creator. But before I get started, if you're looking for state approved child development training, go to www.childcareedu.com. That is www.childcareedu.com. My special guest is my brother Mark. Hey, hun.
What's up?
Talk about your relationship with yourself and your creator. How did you tap into that part of yourself?
First of all, hello, listeners, and excuse me if I forget that I'm talking to listeners. Sometimes I have a tendency to do that. But as long as I can remember, I can think of me in my childhood always trying to learn and explore. And from that time till now, I can remember not being able to understand some of the things that I was learning. And I had questions about them. So it just was a part of my mind and my thinking as I just went through life, learning what life had to offer. Until I reached pretty much what we call an adult age, I started having difficulties with it because I was learning some opposites of some truths that I couldn't explain. For an example, I would see and often do, or I should say I would hear and often do lie. In other words, I would know a truth and I would lie about it. I would see where other people would know a truth and lie about it. That always confused me. So if there's a truth, why should there be a lie? That was one of the first things that was difficult in my thinking when I became an adult, because I would witness like horrible things that happened because of that. So the question that was in my thinking is, can we make the truth? That was the big problem that I was having with my thoughts, because people did it with no difficulty. I mean, people would say, "Agree with me," and it can be a lie, and you would have to choose whether you wanted to help them with their lie, help yourself with their lie, or these were all the questions that I used to go through. And I would notice that if someone said, "Ain't that right, Mark?" and you was to say, "No, that ain't right," then you could have had a very dear friend or loved one dislike you because of that. To the point where they didn't even want to be a loved one or your friend anymore. So that was the difficulties with some of the like little minor things that turned out to be real life problems. Okay, and then another example could be I would learn about theft or stealing. I would actually steal something and say someone else did it and watch what was the outcome of, whatever it was that got stolen happened to someone else when I would know that it was me. And then I would also see that where someone would do something else or steal something, and then I would get blamed for it. So these are examples I'm giving of the problems that I had with just regular learning in life. Okay, with those examples, you can probably come to the conclusion that, I had some really confusing thoughts in my mind growing up, which I think is probably true about everyone. But anyway, so fast forward into me as a grown man. I would hate to say the age I was, but I'm going to say it anyway. I was probably about 50 or 51 when at work I had started to discuss those issues that I had in my mind with other people. By the way, I had those right. I had those confusing issues long before I was 51, and I always used to discuss them, and you get like different reactions or different reasons, whatever. But it never was to where I felt like they were answers for me to clear up my thoughts where they wouldn't be confusing anymore. So when I was 51, I was doing the same thing I've been doing, but I happened to do it to someone, or actually it was a couple of people, and they were painters that was sent to my job on contract to paint. I was there to fix air conditioners and everything else that went wrong. So they were contractors anyway, and I went through it with them because we had some time to spend just talking. So I was talking about my confusing thoughts, and one of them said to me, you need to read this book called A Course in Miracles. You would like it. And I was like, well, why would I like that? And his reply was, you just would like it. Just because of what you're sitting here talking about, I think you would like it. So just read it. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I went on talking, and then they just went on listening, and they were talking too. But after work, I decided to go find this book that he told me about and see why he wanted me to read it. So I Googled it, and I found it. And I was about to buy it when I said to myself, wait a minute, my sister is in the books, and she reads books. Let me see if she have it first, because it might cost something. So I called her, and she said very casually, "Oh yeah, I got that."
That's me, y'all. He talk about me.
Oh yeah, I got that. You could buy the book, or you can get the book, or I can give you the book, or you can listen to it because I have it on audio. I have all the CDs, and I was like, okay, well, me and Debbie came to the arrangement that because I was far away, she was going to give me 4 at a time, and I was going to slowly listen to them 4 at a time. I put 1 CD in, and out of all of those years, from the day I was born to the time I was 51, have I heard anything that vaguely came close to ending my confusion? Which the name of the book was called A Course in Miracles. So I'm just going to say that was a miracle.
So you guys who are listening, there is the original book called The Course of Miracles, written by. I'll put it in the notes, okay? I'll put it in the notes because I can't think of the author's name right off the bat for right now. There's a lot of people who have reinterpreted The Course of Miracles. So I would highly suggest, and Mark, do you agree, that you read the original Course of Miracles, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And I definitely will put that down in the course description, in the show description. I'm sorry, teacher, right? Course description. The show description, the name and the author, okay? In case some of you guys want to go and purchase that. So on my last show, I did not name any books or any kind of influence because I really wanted you guys, listeners, to just listen to your intuition. Remember that, listeners? I talked about the intuition on the previous show. Practicing learning how to listen to your intuition. So, but on this show, um, we're going to talk about our influences throughout the conversation. So, anyway, Mark, you were saying that what exactly clicked for you? What was the first thing when you was reading course or listening to the CDs? If you can remember, what was the first thing that happened? Or what was the first knowing?
Yeah, the range is so wide that in order for me to be like really particular, I would have to like really be in thought about it. But because it's so wide, I can only talk about it right now while we're talking of the wide range. But the thing that I wanted to say is that the first CD I put in instantly pretty much, that's why I'm calling it a miracle, because it instantly pretty much put a lot of my confusion to rest with the first CD. I mean, I was so confident with what I was hearing as solutions to my suffering confusion just with the first CD. So what I learned is that I have a part of God. I was created as a part of God, is what I started to understand in that first CD. And God is a part of me. And the reason why I was confused is because I didn't know that. That's all I can say. I didn't know that. I mean, I always thought I knew that and always would hear that from like religions, and whenever I would get in conversations with people about religions, people would say, you know, you're a part of God and God is a part of you. I mean, I even went to church and all of that. I know about religion. I heard about religion and all of that. But for some reason, it never did ease the confusion. But for some reason, that this CD did. So I'm just going to say about maybe one of the things that really might have started the miracle happening was when it first comes on, it says, this is not about religion, and this is not about starting a cult. This is for you to use any way you would like. And then it started out how it wanted to explain to whoever was listening to the CD that, yeah, you're pretty much a part of God and God is a part of you. And then it goes on to explain how that is in very, to me, easy terms. And I don't know if it's because I've been wanting these answers to my confusion for so long as a part to, I've been wanting these answers for so long, and I would ask questions about them and never came close to having any kind of answers. And all of a sudden, instantly I did. So that's when, and I've been listening to them ever since, which is, I don't even know how many CDs it is, because I have it all on audio now. So I just go by the numbers. I don't even go by the CDs anymore. But
yeah, because now we got it on Audible, you guys.
Yeah.
So,
and I just pretty much listen to it every day. I mean,
Audible books.
Yeah, and
Audible.com.
And the only thing that got me convinced about my confusion and my relationship with God is the fact that you can listen to anything you want all day long, and it don't even get you any closer to having your thoughts actually realized in a good way.
So I'm going to interrupt you, Mark, because we were talking earlier, and the way I really like the way that you explain the relationship with you and God, if you could remember that.
It's a miracle.
Can you say it again? How you understand that relationship to be?
Okay. Well, the confusion is, okay, if there is a God, you can't see him, touch him, feel him, or whatever, and everybody have an opinion about what that relationship is supposed to be and how they feel it is to them, which never really clicked for me. I mean, only thing I would come out of it with is, okay, I understand why you feel that way. But I never just did it. I never felt it. And I wanted to so bad. And all the conversations I had with preachers, pastors, nuns, brothers, sisters, whatever, in all religious aspects. But I found out from listening to these audibles that all of those answers that you were looking for were, you already had the answers to them. It just was never revealed to you. So all this book actually probably can do, this is how I was thinking about it, is have things revealed to you that were already in you. So after reading the whole thing, which I've done, and I still read it all the time, but after reading the whole thing, I found out that the book was right. Everything that you need to know is already in you. It's already in your thoughts. It's already a part of you. So the only thing I can say about it, which the miracle is that you can reveal it to yourself. So once you reveal it to yourself, it only makes you want to reveal it to other people and have them understand. But that last part is not like a real reality sometimes, because people feel like it's difficult.
I'm going to interrupt you again. So what is, can you explain that relationship? Like, what?
Yeah.
How can you explain the relationship?
Well, the relationship is the most important thing. The relationship is the most important thing. So it's probably going to be the most difficult thing to understand.
But you said it so beautiful earlier.
Yeah, because the relationship is the fact that you really, really, really are a part of God. And God is a part of you. So that whole thing is just, it's just a whole thing. That's just how it is. So it's not what can I say, chore. Like when your parents used to give you chore. It's not no chore for you to believe in God. That's not something that anybody ever should feel like they should be made to do. I think that came out of fear. Like, people thought you should have the fear of God in you. So that's where all of these fears came from. But then I realized that there actually is no fear. And you can really not have a miracle if you fear. Miracles don't work in fear. So that's when I said, oh, okay, so basically almost everything I learned almost was a lie. Because everything that you learn have a fear factor in it. Don't stick nothing in the plug, you get shocked. Don't tell a lie. People ain't gonna like you. Don't steal. Everything came with all of these punishments and guilt. So that's when I was able to, just with that one thing, figure out that all I learned basically almost was wrong. Because it was taught wrong and it was learned wrong. And it was only learned wrong because it was taught wrong. But anyway, there is no reason to fear anything. Anything anybody do is only a mistake, and everybody do them. That should be really clear to anybody if they really think about that one fact. That everybody makes mistakes. That means that mistakes is a part of life and can happen. So if mistakes is a part of life and they can happen, only thing needed is correction. But in religion, mistakes are called sins and described and taught like they can't be corrected. They can only be punished. That's why murderers go to jail. That's why we have the electric chair. That's why I ain't supposed to kill. I ain't supposed to steal. We think of all of things as sins and wrong the wrong way. Because things that are sins and wrong actually are mistakes to be corrected. They're mistakes to be corrected. And they're very easy to correct, because if you stick a fork in a plug and you get shocked, you're going to get shocked, and pretty much you probably ain't even going to do that again. Especially if you were a baby or like you were 1 or 2. If you old and you stick it in, you get shocked, you might say to yourself, well, I'm going to stick it in again, and this time I ain't going to get shocked. But a baby ain't going to do that. So pretty much you really didn't have to scare that baby into not doing that. Because if the baby would have done it, I guarantee you for the rest of his life, he probably would never do that again. But anyway, that's just to show you how we was taught. So that's why I erased everything. I erased everything I ever was taught, because I realized that that's why I was confused. So then I started thinking about all the things that I was taught that actually was good, that wasn't a mistake. So I said, oh, so if there were things that was done that wasn't a mistake, or that even was a mistake but that was corrected, that is pretty much how I knew that I was a part of God. And that's why up until now, to this day, I realize that God is good. And everything else is to replace that. So that's why I feel like the relationship with God is very important, because once you realize that everything is good, because that's basically all to me God is good. But then there's other things. So all the other things have to be to replace God. Now, the relationship, the other part of that relationship is that I'm a part of God, or before this, maybe I was talking about the part where I thought God was a part of me. But now I'm going to talk about the part that I'm a part of God, because I recognize, like some of these things I was starting to recognize them. I wasn't even taught none of them. I was never taught none of these things. So where is all of this coming from? It must be because God is also a part of me. And I'm just starting to realize it now. So when you realize that you're a part of God and God is a part of you, these truths and knowledges start come flowing into your mind. They don't come flowing into the world. They don't come like, you're not going to see like no change in the world and stuff. But what you do see is a change in your mind. Like your mind starts thinking on a path of not suffering. You still suffer, but when you know why you're suffering, it's a different kind of suffering. The suffering is just different.
Well, you stop suffering.
Well, eventually you do, but you still suffer a little bit. But if you know, like say, you know if you slam a door on your hand, that shit gonna hurt, right? But now if you do it for the first time without even knowing that, you probably don't even have that much pain. But if you know now, because the door was slammed on your hand before, you be like, shit, I don't want no door to slam on my hand again. But a door gets slammed on your hand again, but now you already know that pain. So you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like
experience the pain.
Like, right. You already.
But suffering is when you continue to revisit the pain.
That's because you ain't get it yet. That's because the mistake really wasn't corrected.
That's what I mean. So when you recognize, right,
that's when
that you made a mistake,
right,
that you made a mistake, and you say, oh, that was just a mistake, so let me correct the mistake.
Right.
And then you correct, and suffering stops.
Immediately.
There's no suffering.
Right. But some mistake, you can make some mistakes and think that you corrected them. and you really didn't.
Yes.
Because you ain't know enough
and
yet.
how do
just
you
thought.
know? Because you are suffering. You're still suffering.
Exactly.
And you go, wait a minute.
Right.
I thought I fixed it,
I fixed it.
And then you say, oh, I didn't. You recognize that you didn't fix it.
Yep, because you still
So
suffering.
then you try something else.
Right.
And that's something else that you try.
But if you notice the world, now if you learn in the world, like without learning this for yourself, if you learn in the world say, when you make a mistake, how you end it is you do this differently. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you say to yourself, well, wait a minute, I just fucking made that mistake again. But I did it different. Oh, I'm sorry, I cursed. I always say it, sometimes I forget that I'm talking to listeners, so please pardon my language, because, I don't know, this is how I talk. But
okay.
You'll notice yourself getting into more mistakes, because the world say if you do it differently, the mistake would go away. But what actually happened was the mistake did go away, but it was temporary. So you really didn't correct it.
You did.
So the correction means that once you make a mistake, you're not going to suffer no more with that. You know what I mean? That's when you know you really corrected it. But if you make a mistake over and over again, that just means that you did things differently. You ain't corrected the mistake.
You didn't correct it.
You just did things differently and created a scenario of
because when you make a correction, the suffering stops.
That's how you know.
That's important. I want to really, really make sure that we all understand that part. Your emotions are your indicator.
Yeah.
Your emotions will always tell you where you are.
Right.
And if you are still having a bad feeling,
right,
like suffering, then you did not correct the mistake.
Right.
Because once you correct the mistake, your emotions are good.
Because everything is good.
They're all good.
Actually, and whatever you talk about, whether it's emotion, truth, knowledge, all of that, once you get to the end of it and it's being good, that's when you know that you have a relationship with God, because that's all God is.
Yes.
All He is good.
God is
just good. So once you see good, that's when you know.
That's when you know
that you're a part of God and God is a part of you.
Yes.
Then for you to know that, if you have to understand. I
want to stop you for a minute and clarify one thing.
Okay.
You, even when you're bad, you and God are still one.
Yeah, because good is always going to be at the end. Yes. So you got to remember that.
Well, good is always there.
That's why I say it's
I just want to
say,
I want to clarify, because people tend to think, right? Or this is the way I was, and we was raised the same way, but this is the way I interpret it as a young person, or before I knew what I know now, that when I'm bad, right, I am alone. I am by myself in my badness.
Right.
And the Creator and I are detached. We are separated. You know, like I hear people say, oh, I got to go find God, or God left me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to clarify and say that there is no way possible to be separate
from God.
From God.
Yeah.
God is part of you.
So think about it like this.
And you are part of God.
So think about it like this. You actually did take God with you in the badness. But the difference is God is God, you is you. So when you took God with you in the badness, God didn't see no badness.
Yes.
He's incapable of seeing badness. You are capable of seeing badness because you made it.
Yes.
That's why you called it your badness. You said, I had a badness. He didn't know God didn't go nowhere, and you took him with you.
Yes.
And he was with you.
Yes.
But he just don't recognize bad.
Yes.
So you were sitting there recognizing bad and suffering.
Yes.
But there's no way God can suffer because he already know it don't exist.
Yes.
So you
the one that's delusional.
You're the one that's delusional.
And that's why it's not real.
And you don't have to feel scared or guilty.
Yes.
Because you didn't do anything to God. See, a lot of times when you learn things in the world, you thought that you did something to
You
God.
made God mad.
You made him mad. But you can't because it all is his. So you can't. Now, when I say all of it is his, only reason why I could tell you the difference that bad ain't his because he don't recognize it. So you can have it all day long and you can still be with him, but he ain't never going. Just as much as you fight for your badness to be real to him is how much your badness ain't real to him because he can't recognize it because it's not real. It's something that you put in place of his goodness.
To him, to it.
Yeah.
Is the
Well,
creator
him, but,
him.
Yeah,
but okay, that's what y'all
That's why I said you have to realize that everything you learn, you have to take away. But you still have to use the stuff you learned. Like you got to use the adjectives. So you still going to say him, her, shit, fuck, all that stuff because you learned it. I'm sorry for my language again, but it's still a fact of life. And I can even relate to that when you was a kid. Everybody used to want to smack the taste out your mouth for cursing. Why? If it's a part of life. Like, how that, if we're not insane, tell me how this is. If this is not an insane thought, I'm going to smack the taste out your mouth because you shouldn't, because you're a child, right?
I know.
But it's okay
for you to smack the taste out of your mouth.
No, or if you cuss when you're an adult.
Yeah.
Like, so that means that, all of a sudden I got smacked what's the
I know, like, did you believe that? Because I didn't believe it.
But
did you believe that when you was a child? You see, I mean, I want to really say that so the adults can know that children don't believe what you say; they believe what you do.
No,
that don't make no sense. I curse and you violent. That's what children know. Like what you saying, you smacking me is worse than me curse. Now that's how I feel as a child.
Well, actually,
so we're both
if
wrong.
you can remember, I don't know. Out of the listeners, who can remember best about getting slapped or punched? Because if anything happens to you, if somebody ever slap, hit, or punch you, the first thing you feel as far as your body is that you've been hit.
Yes.
So, but the mind say, like, what the fuck? Instantly, I'm sorry for saying it, but if you ever notice that? But your mind be like, because sometimes a person can hit you. Sometimes a person can hit you. It depends on how tough you are or whatever. But sometimes somebody can hit you and you ain't even feel it. Yeah. You ever notice that? Somebody hits you, you ain't even feel it. But you mad because they hit you.
Yeah.
So you might bring some pain to you because that was your thought. So now you got this pain to you that might be related to another time you got hit, but you felt the pain. Yeah. But this time you got hit, you ain't even feel it.
Yeah.
So you putting that pain.
Because now you're projecting. I remember this.
Or it's just like a shot. Yeah. Like you go to the doctor get ready to give you a shot, and you be like,
but in a child's
you be like, no, don't give me that shot, it's gonna hurt. And the doctor do it real fast to give you a shot. You be still saying, no, it's gonna hurt. And you be like, I already gave you the shot.
You're like,
and you be like, oh. And you could have went through all of those things, like crying, howling, and screaming, but really, that shot really didn't hurt. But that's how you know that everything you taught in your life actually don't exist. Unless you...
It's not a reality.
Yeah, unless you are insane. Because if you're insane, you can make that true.
Yeah.
Like you can make that true, and you can bring that pain to that shot. You can bring pain to that punch. You can do all of that with your mind. You just don't even realize that you're doing it because somebody hit you, and that is supposed to hurt.
Because you become part of the insanity.
Yeah. And the reason why I just wanted to talk about that because I got into a situation, and I hate to go into the reason why, but anyway, some girl got mad at me or whatever and brought her boyfriend in on it. And her boyfriend was coming as protection, right? And this is after Course of Miracles and stuff, right? And her boyfriend hit me. Like first we was talking, I'm sitting in the car, he's standing outside the car, and he swung on me, boom. And I was like, wait a minute. And I went to open my door, and then in my mind I was like, I ain't feel nothing. I was like, did I like put my head back and he missed? So I was confused because I thought I got hit, and I was like, I'm supposed to, so in other words, I'm saying this because even after I read and started to understand, I started to notice that things were different in my mind.
Yeah.
Like my mind, like other things start confusing my mind like that. Like, damn, I thought I just got hit. I'm supposed to like feel pain or something. So the rest of it is that I just thought the guy was a sucker and hit like a little girl. Because I know I ain't feel nothing. That's all I know. That I ain't feel nothing. And I ain't had no anger. I ain't had no fear. I ain't had none of those things that usually happen in my previous thoughts that would happen after someone hit you or even swung on you. Because like I said, it might even could have been a miss. You see what I'm saying? So that's when I learned that there are some things that are real and some things that are not real. But to you, they're real because your mind has processed it as being real.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned how we became insane or how we became delusional. Because our mind is so powerful, we can make things real that's not even really real. So that's how another part of the relationship I have with God, because God lets me know
good and evil.
Right. God to me let me know
God is only good.
That it's only when it's only good, you're basically working with truth and knowledge. If it ends up good, you're working with truth and knowledge. If somebody is telling you this is some knowledge or this is some truth,
and if it ends up bad, you're being delusional.
You're already going to be delusional until it comes out good. When it comes out good, that's when you're
till you correct.
Right. That's when you're coming out of the delusion. Is when and that process right there is like pretty much the whole thing in a nutshell.
Yeah,
for
it
you
takes
to
a lot of practice.
And it's not complicated, and it's not none of this, and it's not none of that. All it is about accepting knowledge,
stopping and recognizing, identifying it.
Right.
Stopping.
All the lies that you were taught all of your life. That's the most difficult part, or the part where you know and you don't know. It's not something you look for. It's not something you can read. It's not nothing somebody can tell you. You know it. Because you already know it. You just don't know that you already know it. So once it's revealed to you.
We do. I think what happens is we are taught that we are taught that we need to be obedient and listen to the professionals. Listen to people who know. Right? And so we are taught not to listen.
But for what reason? Why were you taught to be
obeyed? Because they want to control us.
Oh, no. Yes, it actually was because they really cared for you, but they wanted you to be like a happy person. They want you to be able to get along in life in a safe way where nothing will happen to you. So if I put these things in you, this was supposed to be the answer from you growing to a child to
that sounds just like control.
Oh, because it is.
Yeah. So
it is.
So we've been taught,
or that it wasn't already in you.
Yes, that we need to put it in. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yep.
So no, you listen to me. You don't listen to your intuition.
Yep.
Right.
Or you don't listen to
me because let me tell you, child, you have a blank slate. And I need to write on your slate in order for you to be happy, successful, or whatever that's all about. And you won't get hurt.
Yeah.
But that sounds like control. Every single person is connected. We're all connected to the same body. We talked about this earlier too. And on my previous show, I explained that body. We are all part of one body, and each one of us is a cell.
Right.
Right? But putting all the cells together, we are one body. Now, some people call it, we are all one. Some people say Jesus called it the body of Christ.
Right.
Some people would say we're a part of one consciousness. It all means the same thing to me.
I like, and I want to say to the listeners, I already told you, but I like the analogy about the ocean. If you ever been in the ocean, not on the shore, not at a beach, but if you ever have been in the ocean, whether it was on a boat, a yacht, a ship, or whatever, and you couldn't see the shore, but you looked out at the ocean, and it wasn't a storm or nothing crazy was happening. It was just like the ocean was there, you was on the boat, and everything was cool. And you look at the water while the sun was up. What you would see is the sun shining off of ripples in the water. So if everybody is a ripple,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
They're part of that ocean.
Yes.
And that ocean cannot even be an ocean without those ripples.
Yes.
But you can't even have ripples without an ocean.
Yes.
So there's a relationship.
Yeah. There it
with
is.
God. That is the best way to me to explain that.
And it doesn't, and it's never, it can't be a separation because then there's no ocean anymore.
It's just that's kind of like silly,
no
right?
No separation. But
so can you see how we can become delusional?
Yes, and the delusion
we'll say to
is,
ourselves, oh yeah, no, I can make that. I can make that.
Yes.
Like I can have the ocean, and I can have it without no ripples.
Yes.
So then that becomes, we might even talk about later, that becomes the ego. Because the ego going to keep telling you that,
you got to work this out for yourself.
Yeah,
you are in this mess all by yourself. You created this mess, and you got to get yourself out. But how many times have you been told that? I know I've been told that by the influencers in my life that were supposed to be wiser than me. You made this mess, and you're going to have to figure it out. And here you are standing all alone trying to figure out first what mess you made and how can you fix it. But you got to figure this out all by your own. And if you can't figure it out, I'm going to tell you what it is.
No, but what did that promote? All of that, what you just said, what did it promote? Only promoted fear and guilt.
Yes.
Fear on your side and guilt on the person's side who's saying that you're alone.
But the good news is you can always turn to the Creator and say, I made a mess. Mm-hmm. I made a mess. I do recognize the mess that I made. Right?
Well, to the Creator, it was a wonderful mess.
Yes.
According to the Creator, you made a wonderful mess. But according to the world and the earth, you fucked up. Oh, I keep cussing. You messed up.
Yes, you messed up, right? So then you can say, so help me. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, you wouldn't believe the miracles that happen.
Well, they're called miracles, but all you're doing is revealing what you already know.
Which you are. And they just open up.
Yep.
And then you fix it, and it's all fixed. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Really.
And you don't feel all the emotions that you mentioned.
A really bad thing, right? In this conversation we're having is for me to relate it to death. And I'm going to take a little time out to do it because that is so bad to people and to me that I know if I was able to conquer that would be the truest statement of almost everything else I believe in. In other words, if somebody that I love would die without me suffering, that would be the ultimate knowledge in my quest to not be confused.
So then you have to understand death, right?
Right.
It depends on what you believe about death.
Right.
That
which is making me thinking that I'm prepared. It's just that nobody that I really loved in the now has died. But in the past, my grandmother died and all of that was like hurtful. Yes. Yeah. Yes. They were all hurtful things, but the reason why I can get to where I am because I can remember that they didn't hurt like I thought they were supposed to. Or like people taught me that it was supposed to be like. Yes. Like, like when you be in funerals and people fall out crying and people are so sad, you'll kind of like feel guilty. You're like, okay, they died, but I'm not really feeling all of that. Yes. So am I a bad person? Or do I understand death differently than everybody else? Because
that's what it is.
You talked about this the other day that, I never really like miss people. I mean, I miss people if I know you're there and I can't see you. Like if you live in Texas and I live in South Carolina, I can miss you.
Yes.
But I don't really miss people when they pass.
Okay.
Because I still feel like I'm with them. Because as soon as I think about them, I make them a part of the now.
Yes.
And then I have to go back and realize, hey, no, they're not.
But I do understand that. Mm-hmm. I do understand that. And I haven't experienced My experience has been like yours. The people who I love who have passed, right? Because I understand. Well, what I really understand about death, that there isn't
That
a
you don't
death.
die.
That
Exactly.
life is eternal. I said that on a previous show. That life is eternal. That death is just
Nobody
waking
is gone.
up. Yes.
Just
somebody
like
is
God
really
didn't never
gone.
go nowhere when you was doing bad
Right,
shit.
right.
Nobody is actually gone.
And
Not
I
God,
think
not nobody
that
else.
was Jesus's biggest message. That there is no
Yeah,
death.
but guess
So
what?
why are you
No, but guess
fearing?
what? Because that was misunderstood.
Yes.
People keep when you talk about Jesus, people keep remembering his crucifixion.
I know.
Nobody remembers the resurrection.
Yes.
Which
And
the purpose of the crucifixion was so that he could be resurrected. So it's like most
to
people are missing the
prove
point.
that there's no death. Like what you are afraid of is not a reality.
Right.
Life is eternal.
Resurrection.
Well, people think that whole meaning was something totally
Resurrection
different.
still to the day, when you say that word, means scary stuff.
Jesus suffered all this stuff.
But actually the crucifixion was the suffering.
Yes.
The resurrection was to let you know that there was no suffering. Don't you get it? It's so simple. If you take away how it was taught to you, you will look at these words and these things.
And that is the miracle.
Right.
The miracle is that that there is no death.
Nope.
You know, death is like we are dreaming and you wake up from a dream. Just like you wake up every morning.
You know that when you die, you actually awaken?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You awaken, right?
Yep.
Again.
Yep.
Because we're dreaming all the time. We dream at night. We dream in the day. We are just in series of dreams. I was saying.
The only time you're not dreaming, I know me and you argue about this, but the only time you're not dreaming is when it's good. Because you're actually in reality. The only time when you're dreaming.
And I'm not going to argue about
hallucinating.
that because I understand what you just said. Okay. So I do understand that when you're in a good place, that is real.
That's
real. The only thing that's
anything to do with good is real.
It's real. Okay, so I understand that. So we're not going to argue about that because I do agree with that.
All right.
But we're in the series of dreams, right? And on the next show, maybe we'll talk about, right, that you are in control of that dream too. But that would be another show because we going to wind down this show. And thank you, my brother,
my
for
pleasure.
joining me.
Fun.
And let's do this again. Okay. So if you like to contact me, you can email me at missdebbiesays@gmail.com. Once again, if you are looking for state-approved child development training, go to www.childcareedu.com. I hope this show was helpful. Maybe some of it, if not all of it. Take what you like. Throw away what you didn't. It's just what Miss Debbie says. See you next week.